Ask Reddit by OckMap 4452. What tourist destination should be avoided at all costs? Brace yourself for a deluge of Cairo posts. Cairo, Isle is also a shithole. It's not as shitty as a lot of other spots mentioned here, but Plymouth Rock is super lame. Don't do it. The stupid little rock has zero historical significance too. It's not mentioned by the colonists. The significance was pretty much invented in local lore in the 19th century, I believe. That being said, downtown Plymouth is fantastic and well worth a visit though. UK, Land's End and John O'Groats are neither the northernmost nor southernmost points of the country but have become tourist attractions because people believe them to be. Both are utter crap holes that exist only to relieve tourists of money for crap souvenirs and overpriced drinks. Yes. The Lizard is much nicer and is actually the most southerly point. Really surprised it hasn't been said, but Hollywood, California. As someone who lives down the road and works in the area frequently, it is a shithole. Dirty and crime-ridden. A few cool things locals can do frequently on weeknights, but trust me when I say everything you see on TV really is smoke and mirrors. Hollywood BLVD Walk of Fame is something you do one time just to see it in person, and that's it, and you can't do that in an hour. Universal Studios Hollywood on the other hand was pretty awesome. When you look out from the balcony before going down the escalators and see all the sound stages in the Warner Brothers studios in the distance, it truly feels like real Hollywood. The supermarket near my house, please don't come here. Bude Sainsbury's. Nassau. It's in the Bahamas and most cruise lines always stop at that port. But it's a whole town dedicated to trap tourists into buying overpriced stuff. They play music through the whole town and you can't walk more than 2 feet without someone trying to sell you something. I was just in Nassau last week. It wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting. We walked a mile to get to Goldie's and had a delicious lunch. Got a cab back to the tourist area. The straw market is a known tourist trap. You go in to shop and haggle. It wasn't nearly as bad as it used to be, when people would get you to touch something, then say you had to buy it. It wasn't like that at all. India and Egypt if you are a solo girl. Let's throw in Morocco. Wherever 7,000 passenger cruise ships can dock. Couldn't pay me to go to Dubai. Done it. I was just about to offer you $100 billion to go to Dubai. But since you've prematurely rejected this offer, I will have to select someone else at random. I hate Dubai. Everything is artificial and expensive. Not to mention much of it was built with essentially slave labor. Cabo. Went in honeymoon in 2017. We never left the tourist areas yet wife's drink was still drugged. Thankfully the free drink they offered me, I declined. Also thankfully my wife was okay. Just needed to sleep it off. I had a friend who also had a laced drink in Cabo last summer. Hey man, where on Cabo did you stayed? I'm about to go there in a couple of months and would like the heads up. Bondi Beach. Honestly one of the crappier beaches in Sydney that is so chock full of tourists that you're swimming relaxing with 8 million other people. If you can, go down the coast further. Wollongong, Kiama and Gerringong have beautiful beaches with much less traffic and friendlier people. Just go straight from the beach to do the Bondi Coastal Walk, it's breathtaking. Dubai. I've always wondered, do you see normal people enjoying normal life there? What kind of people do you mostly see there? So apparently India. Especially if you're a female. Seen too many posts about it. Been to India backpacking 6 years ago with my buddy and his wife. We had 3 incidents where we had to leave an area because groups of males swarmed us that never had seen a blonde woman and started shoving phone cameras in her face. Times Square. Shops, buskers, and those overly aggressive Muppet characters all trying to separate you from your cash. It's just a few billboards and a place to buy cheaper Broadway tickets. They're not even interesting billboards anymore. They used to have crazy lighting setups, moving components, and so on. Now they're just LED walls that may or may not be curved. Egypt. Egypt is one of those places I'm glad I crossed off the bucket list, as the pyramids and Luxor are genuinely awesome to see, but I have zero desire to go back. It's overcrowded and chaotic, and if you're not careful, people will try to scam you left and right. The best advice I can give for anyone looking to do Egypt is plan and book everything in advance. It's not like places in Europe and Asia where you can just explore at your own pace and expect to have a good time. For example, book private transfers to from the airport. It's also critical to book private guides for every attraction through a reputable aggregator like Viator or Get Your Guide. The purpose of the guides isn't really to give you facts, it's to serve as bullshit repellent. I noticed at the pyramids that people with a guide weren't hassled much, but people without them are mobbed by touts and scammers. People should go to the Grand Canyon, but not the side closest to Vegas. It's a tourist scam. Take the time to go to any of the parks that access the canyon. Are you talking about the South Rim with the glass bridge? Not sure if it's a scam. Expensive, sure. But saves hours by going there vs the other side if coming from Vegas. I have been twice and it is still the most spectacular thing I have ever seen, and I have traveled all over the world. Hollywood Walk of Fame. I'm from India. If you're someone who does not know anyone here, I would not recommend. You don't know who's gonna be helpful and who's not. I'd recommend finding someone who is a local here and travel with them. Will save you tons of headache and money. Blackpool. I've never seen too much public nudity as I have on my nights away in Blackpool. There's a bar, forget what it was called, with a glass dance floor on the first floor, so from ground you could see people throwing shapes. What I saw was a girl with no knickers on smudging herself across a dirty sticky dance floor. The London Eye. What a crock of, they have the nerve to call a ride on a Ferris wheel a flight. I think that was only the case when it was sponsored by British Airways. A lot of people are naming tourist destinations that are actually just tourist attractions, as in, you come, you check it out for 15 minutes, and then you leave. If you go to Times Square or Hollywood and expect to spend all day there, that's on you for not understand what the attraction is. Any of the ones where tourists are despoiling nature and hurting the ecosystem. I feel like this includes much of Hawaii. It's a huge problem. People will also come from wealthy backgrounds, move in, and displace the locals because the housing market continues to skyrocket. The locals also have their own problems where they're overfishing the waters. I remember living in Greece, and diving through the ocean felt like looking at an underwater desert because of how starved they were for fish. Join a few fishing groups on social media and you'll see people dredging massive nets of fish daily, overfishing, spearfishing endangered species, etc. Literally today saw a post about a local that hooked a turtle to use as a buoy for their crab trap, but they'll place the blame fully on tourists regardless, even though you can't see an empty rock anywhere around the island without 30 fishing poles lodged into it. There's no stewardship, and it's embarrassing. Don't get me wrong, the reefs are in danger and declining, which is awful for the local wildlife, but there's a lot of issues that the Hawaiians bring upon themselves as well because they dig too deep into. Ping pong show in Thailand. Is it anything like the ping pong show in Benidorm? New York City on New Year's Eve.